तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्म गुरु भगवंता। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्मा गुरु भगवंता। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्मा गुरु भगवंता। गुरु मेरा देवा अलकय देवा, गुरु मेरा देवा अलकय देवा। सर्व पूजा शरण गुरु सेवा, सर्व पूजा शरण गुरु सेवा। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्मा गुरु भगवंता। गुरु का दर्शन दे दे जीवन, गुरु का दर्शन दे दे जीवन। गुरु के चरण धोय धोय जीवन, गुरु के चरण धोय धोय जीवन। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्मा गुरु भगवंता। गुरु मेरी पूजा गुरु गोविंदा, गुरु मेरा पार ब्रह्मा गुरु भगवंता। गुरुदेवा शरणं देवा, गुरुदेवा शरणं देवा। पाहि प्रभो शरणं देवा, पाहि प्रभो शरणं देवा। शरणं शरणं सद्गुरुदेवा, शरणं शरणं सद्गुरुदेवा। सुंदर रूपा श्री गुरुदेवा, सुंदर रूपा श्री गुरुदेवा। शरणं शरणं सद्गुरुदेवा, शरणं शरणं सद्गुरुदेवा। गुरुदेवा शरणं देवा, गुरुदेवा शरणं देवा। गुरुपद पंकज सेवा, तीसरी भक्ति अमार हो रामा, तीसरी भक्ति अमार। चौथी भक्ति नम गुण गण करे कपट तजगार। उमापति महादेव के जय, पवन सुत हनुमान के जय। सियापति रामचंद्र के जय।
Sound 1 2. Sound check 1 2 1 1 2. Sound 1 2. बुरेश्वर मापति महादेव की जय, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय। Prayer Bhaktojan, beloved devotees and bhaktas, Shubh Swagatam and welcome to this evening's Sandhya. As you grasp this opportunity once more again to join in devotion to the feet of Ganapati Baba, Lord Sri Ganesh, whom is the remover of all obstacles and hurdles, trials and tribulations. The Divine Lord who bestows the blessings of success. This evening performing our puja, worship, oblations to the lotus-like feet of Lord Ganesh, preparing the mind, preparing the Atma, the soul, to absorb the beautiful pravachan and wonderful katha. This evening, I invite you, Karavujai, please stand as we join in our opening arati. Yani tani japapani janme hiritani cha tani tani vanashyante parakshana prade prade गणपति की सेवा मंगल मेवा सेवा से सब विघ्न टरे तीन लोक के सकल देवता द्वार परे निज अरज हरे हे सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता देवता है सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता रिद्धि सिद्धि के दक्षिण माला औद अनंत से चतुर रे धूप दीप और लिए आरती भक्ति करे जयकार करे हे सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता देवता है सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता गौरी के मोदक भोग रहे है मोषक वाहन चर अपरे समारोह पलिए श्री गणपति को विघ्न बरे जय दूर बरे हे सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता देवता है सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता बधो मासोद शुक्ल चतुर्थी दीन धूप आबरुद बरे समारोह पलिए श्री गणपति को विघ्न बरे जय दूर बरे हे सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता देवता है सुख करता गजानंद है दुख हरता एक दंत गज वदन विनायक त्रियनंद के रूप रे समारोह पलिए श्री गणपति को विघ्न परे जय दूर परे, हे सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता, देवता है सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता। गणपति पूजा नित्य करे के, काम शुभ के निर्गुण सरे, पूजा कर जय जो यह आरती, चित्र परे जय दूर परे, हे सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता, देवता है सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता। एक दंत गज वदन विनायक, त्रियनंद के रूप रे, कुमार देख पुत्र श्री, देख चंद्रमा हस्त करे, हे सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता, देवता है सुख करता गजानन है दुख हरता। My dear friends, devotees and bhaktas, once you worship Bhagwan Sri Ganapati, today's Aaj Din Guruvar hai, today is of course Thursday. It is specially dedicated for the worship of Lord Shiva. And so this evening with love and with devotion, we glorify our divine Lord, Mahadev Baba. He is the destroyer. We ask of him, Prabhu, may destroy any negative energy that may be around us. May you guide us and may you continue to protect us from time to time. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Bam bole Hare, mora man kamnam pura kare. Bam bole Hare, mora man kamnam pura kare. Mora man kamnam pura kare. Mora man kamnam pura kare. Bam bole Hare, mora man kamnam pura kare. Bam bole Hare, mora man kamnam pura kare. बाबा की दाम पर गंगा की दार, पर गंगा की दार। बाबा की दाम पर गंगा की दार, पर गंगा की दार। सबके रतवा बाबा दुआ, सबके रतवा बाबा दुआ। बम बोले हरे, मोर मन कामना पूरा करे। बम बोले हरे, मोर मन कामना पूरा करे। मोर मन कामना पूरा करे, मोर मन कामना पूरा करे। बम बोले हरे, मोर मन कामना पूरा कर। ओ जगदम जगदम जगदम्बा देवी, देखो तुम्हारा शिव जोगी। जगदम जगदम जगदम्बा देवी, देखो तुम्हारा शिव जोगी। अरे देखो तुम्हारा शिव जोगी, देखो तुम्हारा शिव जोगी। जगदम जगदम जगदम्बा देवी, देखो तुम्हारा शिव जोगी। ओम नमः शिवाय, हरि ओम नमः शिवाय। गणपति की सेवा मंगलमेवा, सेवा से सब विघ्न तरे। धूप दीप और लिए आरती, भक्ति करे जयकार करे। हे सुख करता देवता है सुख करता। Yesterday evening we would have joined in devotion together, and by today we all should be well energized to worship Lord Ganesh with love and devotion once more again. He sukh karta गजानन है दुख, देवता है सुख करता। गजानन है दुख हरता, गजानन है। एक बार पूरे गजानन स्वामी की, गणपति बाबा मंगल मूर्ति। You may have respectful seats this evening. Once more again, my dear friends, devotees and bhaktas, let me take the opportunity to say Shubh Swagatam and welcome to each and everyone once more again joining with us in devotion. Last evening we would have learned about the birth of Lord Ganesh. Gajanan Swami, the elephant-headed god, and what is the symbolism of Lord Ganesha. Katha would have ended where Lord Ganesh sat on the Parvat of Kailash, and where Lord Ganesh was asking for a vahan, for a vehicle, just like all of the devatas and devis. Kartikeya, his vahan is a peacock. Bhagwan Shankar, his vahan is Nandishwara. Devi Maya, her vahan is the Singha, the lion or the tiger. But Lord Ganesh is asking Bhagwan, O Shankara, please bless me too with a vahan or a vehicle. And as we are about to listen to Katha's, Nandishwara is about to narrate. With joy palms together, the rishis and munis gathered together. With closed eyes, they bow their heads in salutations to the divine. This evening, हाथ जोड़ विनती करो भगवान आसन कृपा से. Let us all join your prayer with love and devotion. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Bhagavan, 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 हमें दया करो. श्री गणेशाय नमः. ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमो नमः. ओम श्री गुरु चरण कमलेभ्यो नमो नमः. Salutations to Lord Ganesh. Vakratunna Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Gajananam Bhutaganari Sevitam Kapita Jambu Palasara Vakshitam Umaswatam Shoka Vinashakarikam Namami Viganeshwara Parapankajam. Salutations to Lord Shiva. Nagendrahara Yatrilochanaya Basmangaraya Yamaheshwaraya Nityaya Shudhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Om Namaha Shivaya. Salutations to the Devi. सर्वमंगलमंगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ सारिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबिके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते. It is said, by the blessing of the Guru, he leads us out of the Mahamaya of this world. This evening, we chant our Guru Mantra, bringing peace to the mind to absorb the wonderful lessons of Katha this evening. Om Sri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudan Varano Raghubara Vimala Yasha Jodayaka Palacham Gunahina Tadu Janike Sumbiro Pavana Kumar Balapuri Veja Devu Mohi Harahu Kale Shavikar Seya Pati Ramachandra Parajay Sharanam. Salutations to Saraswati Mata, the Devi of Vacha speech, knowledge, musical arts and talent. We offer salutations to the Devi. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamata Rupani Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Saraswati Vandana. गम गणपते नमः। पूरे सरस्वती माता की, गजानन स्वामी की। My dear friends, devotees and bhaktas, Ganapati Baba together with Lord Shiva, Devi Parvati and Kartikeya, they are sitting on Kailash Parvat, the beautiful hill of Kailash. Ganesh Baba sees all of the Devis and the Devatas with their Vahan, their vehicle. And like any ordinary person, you too will want to have your own vehicle. He begins to ask Bhagwan Shankar, Prabhu, when would I have a Vahan, a vehicle of my own? You have placed me in charge of your Ganas, your Dutas. How would I attend to them if they have problems without a vehicle? As children, when we want something, there's always a way to. As children, when we want something, there's always a way to get it. We could twist any story all how and make even the worst story sound good to get what we want. Isn't that so? Or you don't do that? Or you're very good children? My dear devotees, as Ganesh Baba is asking this to Lord Shiva, in Indralok, Indra Devata is having a function. And he invites all of the rishis and the munis to come to his kingdom. And once all of the rishis and munis are gathering to join this beautiful celebration, the celestial Gandharvas, the musicians, the dancers for the Devis and Devatas, they are called the celestial Gandharvas, performers. And they gathered together at Indralok, waiting to perform. But amongst these Gandharvas, there is one that is called Crouch. Crouch is a little chanchal. Anybody know what's the meaning of chanchal? The bhajan says, Man ki aake tor. The mind is very. So you know the meaning of chanchal. Crouch Mahamuni, Crouch is a Gandharva. And Crouch is very chanchal. You know, amongst us there are some chanchal people. You give them the simplest thing to do, and they must throw down something. I have been this mandir for almost 13 years. And every time we perform puja, Uncle Spidey must throw down something. If it's not the lota water to mess up Madoti, it's the agarbati fall and burn Madoti. That is my karma. Jai Bhagwan. Crouch is a little bit chanchal. And as Crouch enters into the kingdom of Indradev, he looks at the crowd and he becomes frightened. He's a performer, but yet he feels a little bit afraid when he looks at a large congregation. Like some of us, if we have to do a speech, and when we look at the congregation, we become cold feet. He stands at the very entrance of the kingdom. And what takes place? Nandishwara Bole, he tells to us this evening. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. Oh Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. गिरि राजा हिरना करनी गिरि राजा हिरना करनी कौच गए ते जदमा हो कौच गए ते जधामा जय गणेशा stops at the entrance. And as he stops at the entrance, he looks at the congregation. He gains courage, but he's walking. But while he's walking, he's looking at everyone and he isn't looking where he is walking. How many of us, when we go somewhere and we see a huge congregation, we are looking at everybody and we're not watching where we are walking? Crouch, he's trying to be very careful because to himself he knows he's a bit chanchal. But he's looking at everyone, and while he's walking, he doesn't recognize that Vamdev Mahamuni is sitting nearby. And as Vamdev is sitting there and he's in Samadhi and he's waiting for his function, he chants Ram Nam, he chants the name of Bhagwan. And while he's chanting in his mind, Crouch stumbles upon Vamdev. And Crouch falling to the ground, everyone looks back. Imagine you walk in the mandir now, and you fall on one of the chair, brought up. Everybody's going to turn around to see what happened. And as everyone looks back, Vamdev felt embarrassed. And feeling embarrassed, he's saying to himself, because of this Gandharva, today I am embarrassed. And so Vamdev is a person, he has a lot of abhiman, ego, or pride. And when we have pride, what happens? We feel embarrassed about everything because everything should be going how? Good, perfect. And if things are not going perfect, we stay away. Why? Because of our pride and ego. But in life, my dear friends and devotees, life isn't perfect. And things will not be perfect all the time. We will always have trials, tribulations. There will always be little situations in our lives. But should we get angry like Vamdev when something like this happens? Never. Vamdev, he looks at Crouch and he points at him. He's angry. And as he's angry, what he says, we listen to the medium of Katha. Vamadeva giri ko jata, Vamana deva giri ko jata, Mana nalahir visharama, Mana nira visharama, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva, O Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva, O Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva, O Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. Vamdev, he feels embarrassed. He points at Crouch. He's very powerful. Vamdev is very powerful. Sometimes when we are powerful and when we are leaders, we allow it to get the better of us. And then what happens? We have abhiman. And when we have abhiman, it is pride. And then what happens? Anger begins to follow abhiman. He looks at Crouch and he says, "Oh, Murko, fool, you are so chanchal that you are not looking where you are going. You are walking very chanchal. And because of this, today I pronounce a sharp on you, that you will take the roop or the form of a mushak, a mouse, because you are chanchal." How does the mouse move? Anybody know? Anybody ever see a mouse? When the mouse see you, what has happened? Ram Nam Satya Hai. The mouse gone so and you gone the next direction. The moshak now, Crouch immediately, he begins to shrink into the form of a moshak, a mouse. But he clasps his hands together and he begins to pray. He begins to ask, "O Maharishi, Maaf karo, please forgive me. For I know that I am chanchal, it is my nitya. This is how God has made me. I try my best, but I still make mistakes. Please forgive me." Vamdev finally realizes where he went wrong. He finally realizes that he have allowed his anger to get the better of him. he have now realized that he have made a decision that he cannot take back. When we utter words, can we take them back? Anybody? Never. Whenever we string a bow and arrow and we release it, we cannot take it back. When we utter words to others, we cannot take it back. Hence, we must think carefully before we speak. Vamdev finally realizes that he have made a decision in anger. There are 3 times in our lives that we should never make a decision. Whenever we are very happy, do not make any decision. You know why? Because everything seems to be good. Isn't that so? When you are happy, what happens? Everything seems to be good. And when you make a decision at that time, you may regret it later. Whenever you are sad, you do not make any decisions. You know why? Everything seems to be depressing. And whenever you are angry, you do not make any decisions because you will regret them later, just like Vamdev. Vamdev is regretting his decision. And as he regrets his decision, he looks at Crouch Mahamuni. And as Crouch takes the form of the mouse and he clasps his hands together, Vamdev, he says, "Oh Crouch, do not worry. One day you will serve the Devatas. One day even the Devatas will bow to you." You know, just this evening while performing puja at our murti, Uncle Spidey said, "Baba, I think I'm forgetting someone." So I was confused. And then when I looked at him placing the chandan, I said, "Jai Bhagwan, you're forgetting Crouch." Vamdev says to Crouch Mahamuni, "Do not worry. One day the Devatas and people will bow to you." Crouch is thinking to himself, "I'm a mouse, a mosak. Who is going to bow to me? Are you going to bow to a mosak if you see it? Or what do you do when you see a mouse?" Somehow you don't answer. He's thinking, who is going to bow to me? But my dear friends and devotees, the Katha is teaching us that in life, everything happens for a reason. And even though whilst we may not see the good in it today, maybe not tomorrow, certainly one day we will see the good in it. And so, Crouch, he takes this form of the Moshak. And why is he in the form of the Moshak? What takes place? Katha tells to us this evening. Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Bolo Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama, Bolo Sri Ganesh Sharanam Mama. Crouch Mahamuni, he is in the form of the Moshak. And in his mind, you know what he says? These rishis, these munis, they think that they are so powerful. Because of a muni today, I am a Crouch, I am a Moshak. I would teach these rishis and munis a lesson. And Crouch, he begins to travel from ashram to ashram. And what he is doing, the Katha tells to us. नाम पहा गया मेषा क्रौच हर्ष विचारा अनह देशा धन प्रहाना पाता दे जब कीना श्री गणेश शरणम मम श्री गणेश शरणम मम श्री गणेश शरणम मम बोलो श्री गणेश शरणम मम परासव मुनि देहा देखत तथा तुम कथा सुना आहो में मर ऋषि नता महर्षि कर के कर रहा श्री गणेश शरणम मम श्री गणेश शरणम मम श्री गणेश शरणम मम बोलो श्री गणेश शरणम मम बाबा श्री गणेश शरणम मम प्रभु श्री गणेश शरणम एक बाल बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की Crouch, my dear friends and devotees. He decides that he is going to teach these rishis and munis a lesson. So he goes from ashram to ashram and finally enters into the ashram of Parasav Muni. And as he enters into the ashram of Parasav Muni, he begins to create havoc. What does a mouse do? Anybody know? Auntie say yes, she know. Anybody else know? You never find a moshak in your house? Now is Ganesh Ustav. Lord Ganesh vehicle is the moshak. Crouch enters into the ashram of Parasav Muni and he goes into the wardrobe of Parasav Muni. He goes where the holy scriptures are. He goes where the bhojan is and he's having fun. And while he's enjoying himself, Parasav Muni is about to perform his puja. It is the Sandhya hour. And he goes and he takes his bath and he's about to wear his beautiful dhoti. And as he wears the dhoti and he's wrapping the dhoti, he realizes that the dhoti has a pattern. Anybody knows what's the pattern? Remember long ago we cut paper and hang it for Yagna? The dhoti of Parasav Muni had holes in it. Jai Bhagwan. He sat to perform his worship. He didn't allow that to get the better of him. But as he opened his scripture and he's turning the pages, he begins to read. And while he's reading, he realizes that parts of the mantras are missing. And when he looks, it's because part of the pages are missing. Crouch begins to eat even the scriptures. He takes the pearl, the fruits to offer. And as he holds the fruit to offer, he knew that he brought whole fruits. But parts of the fruits are missing. He begins to worry. What is going on? Bhagwan, is it you eating the fruits? Bhagwan, is it you playing with my mind? And while he's praying, he gently opens his eyes. And as he opens his eyes, he sees something running quickly. Jai Bhagwan. He closes back his eyes. And then he sees something moving again. And as he takes his time and he looks carefully, he sees his motion. He sees us as a mouse running from end to end. He begins to worry. Where did this motion come from? Like any one of us, if you were to see a moshak in your house, you wonder where did he come from? He's wondering to himself. As the days goes by, Parasav Muni, he's getting worried because his clothes is getting less. The scriptures are getting shorter to read. And the bhojan is getting less. Why? Crouch is having a good time. Crouch is running from end to end and he's having a great time. Parasa Muni has a problem. Whenever we have a problem, who should we turn to? Last night Katha would have taught us that. For those who would have joined with us last night, Katha would have taught us that whenever we have a problem, who should we turn to? We turn to our best friend. But the question is, who is your best friend? We have friends in this world, and we call them our best friends. And when we have a problem and we tell our best friend, they begin to polish that problem and tell it to someone else. And then the problem change and the katha change, and by the time it reaches back to you, you learn something new about yourself. Sometimes you have friends, and when you tell your friend your problem, you know what they say as you turn your back? You know how long are you waiting for that to happen to him? This is reality. This is the world that we live in. And then we have friends who are there to help us in our times of need. Good friends. But how do we know who are the good friends and not the genuine ones? We don't know. Many of us do not know. Then who should we turn to? We turn to Bhagwan. Last night I would remind you, the mantra says, Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tvameva. God, you are my mother and father, my friend, companion, everything unto me. We declare Bhagwan to be our friend. And when we have a problem, we should take it to God. Parasa Muni has a problem. He knows to take this problem to God. But which God do we take the problem to? He takes it to the Lord of Destruction. Who is the Lord of Destruction? Today is Thursday. Today is Thursday, right? Today is Thursday. Who do we worship on a Thursday? Jai Bhagwan. Or you can answer in a bite. Who do we worship on a Thursday? Let us say with a little more confidence now. Who do we worship on a Thursday? Jai Bhagwan. Bhagwan Shankar. He is the destroyer. Prasav Muni clasps his hand and he surrenders to Lord Shiva. He begins to pray. Tonight, I am sure that we all may have some problems in our lives. Our lives are not perfect. And why is Prasav Muni? He prays to Lord Shiva. We too pray. He clasps his hands together and he outpours love. Shiva Kailasho ki Vasi. He begins to pray. He begins to surrender with love, with devotion. He prays. Om. Together. Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Sangsara Saram Bhujagendraharam Saravasantam Hirdayari Vrinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Tears begin to flow from his eyes. And as the tears flows from his eyes, he outpours love to the feet of Shiva. He begins to praise the Divine Lord.
Tere Kailasho ka Antan Paya Antayananta Teri Maya Antayananta Teri Maya Shankar Sankatarana Shankar Sankatarana Shiva Kailasho ke Vasi Dalidaro ke Raja Shankar Sankatarana Shankar Sankatarana Oh Bole Baba Shankar खट डेरा तेरा चंबीरे जगाना खट डेरा तेरा खट डेरा तेरा चंबीरे जगाना दुजराई देख भर मोरा दुजराई देख भर मोरा ओ बोले बाबा शंकर संकट हरना शंकर संकट हरना शिव कैलाशोक वासी दलिदारों के राजा शंकर संकट हरना शंकर संकट हरना शंकर संकट हरना।
Om Namah Shivaya. Parasa Muni, he prays to Lord Shiva. He outpours his love to the feet of Bhagwan Shankar. He has faith in Lord Shiva that Bhagwan Shankar is going to rid him of this problem. How many of us have faith in God? How many of us, when we go before God to pray, we have faith that God is going to remove our problems? Lord Ganesh is known as the remover of obstacles. We all are going to be given the opportunity to offer our arti and offerings to Lord Ganesh a little bit later on. How many of us have faith that when we go before Lord Ganesh tonight, our problems will be no longer? How many of us have faith? Or we say, I am going before Lord Ganesh to offer arti, and let me see what will happen. How many of us says that? Well, Baba, will see what will happen. Whenever we say that, it means that we don't have faith. We don't have Vishwas, confidence. We must have full faith in our prayer to God. Like Parasav Muni says, oh Bhagwan Shankar, I have faith in you that you are going to rid me of this problem. And why is he praying to Bhagwan Shankar? Ganesha. He is nagging Lord Shiva. Pita, when am I going to get a vahana vehicle? What is going to be my vehicle? When we are at the age where we got our license, we would have wondered what would have been our first vehicle. Isn't that so? Uncle Spidey, remember your first vehicle? And we would have waited anxiously and we would have saved and tried our best to buy the best vehicle. Isn't that so? And once he's thinking, he's asking Pita, Pita, what is going to be my vehicle? Kartikeya vehicle is the peacock. Your vehicle is Nandishwara. Maya vehicle is Simhavahini. What is going to be my vehicle? Bhagwan Shankar cannot answer. He doesn't know. But once he sits on the Parvat, he hears Parasav Muni praying. And once he hears Parasav Muni praying, he closes his eyes. And as he closes his eyes, Parasav Muni holds the image of Lord Shiva and tears is flowing from his eyes. And he says, oh Bhagwan, today I hardly have clothes to wear. I hardly have scriptures to read or prasad to offer to you. Bhagwan, a couple more days I will not have no clothes, no scripture and no food. Bhagwan, please hear my prayer. And as he holds the murti of Lord Shiva, he's praying. Hara 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 Mahadev, Hara 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 Mahadev. Lord Shiva is about to appear. Hara Hara Hara. I just tell everybody, Lord Shiva is about to appear. And if you all want Lord Shiva to come here and be chanting like that, well, Jai Bhagwan. If you all want Lord Shiva to come here now, and if you all want Lord Shiva to come in your life now, Sing to the top of your voices. He's calling Lord Shiva. When we are calling someone, how do we call them? Do you call your child Shriya? Or do you call your child loudly? When I'm calling my son, it's the top of my voice. When you are calling your neighbor, how do you call your neighbor? Parosin? Or is call your neighbor loudly? When you're calling God so soft? To the top of your voices, He prays. Hara 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 Mahadev. Hara Hara Hara. Hara 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 Mahadev. Hara 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 Mahadev. Bhagwan Shankar, he hears the prayer of Parasar Muni. And as he is about to appear there, Parasar Muni holding the image of Lord Shiva, he could feel the presence of someone. And once he feels the presence of that person, he gently opens his eyes. And as he gently opens his eyes, he doesn't see the Murti standing there alone, but he sees Bhagwan Shankar standing there. With clasped hands, he begins to glorify. He begins to worship the Divine Lord. He surrenders to the feet of Bhagwan Shiva and he begins to pray with love and with devotion together. Hara 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 Mahadev. 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 Bolo Shambhu Mahadeva Shiva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Shambhu Mahadeva Shiva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Gangadhara Shiva. Gangadhara. Gangadhara Shiva. Gangadhara. Gauri Priya Shankara Shiva. Gauri Priya Shankara. Bolo Hara 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 Mahadev. 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 Shambhu Mahadeva Shiva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Shambhu Mahadeva Shiva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Shambhu Mahadeva. Hara Hara Hara. Hara Hara Hara. एक बार बोले महापति महादेव की. Bhagwan Shankara appears there. And as he appears there, Parasar Muni begins to pray, O Lord. There's a moshak. And the moshak is creating many problems for me. I may not have clothes just now to wear. And once he says this, Bhagwan Shankar immediately has an idea. Ganesha wants a vahana vehicle, and here's a moshak that is giving trouble. Bhagwan Shankar, he summons Lord Ganesh. He calls Ganapati Baba. And as he calls Ganapati Baba, Ganesh appears there. And as Ganesh Baba appears there together with his brother Kartikeya, because remember, Lord Ganesha needs a Vahana vehicle. He mounts the vehicle of Kartikeya and they both arrive to the ashram of Parasar Muni. And Lord Ganesha says, Pita, why are you calling me here? And Bhagwan Shankar Bori says, O Ganesh, you have been asking for a Vahana vehicle and today you are going to get your vehicle. If you know that today you are going to get your vehicle, what happens? You are very excited. He is very, very excited. And why is he excited? He asks Pita, what is my vehicle? Bhagwan Shankar Bori, what does he say? The Katha tells to us. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. 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 यहाँ सुनो गणपति त्रिपुरारी, यहाँ सुनो गणपति त्रिपुरारी। बालक मोषक क्रोरा हो, बालक मोषक क्रोरा। जय गणेशा। Oh Ganesh, do not worry. Your Vahan is running wild. He is right around here somewhere. Jai Bhagwan. I hope Crouch isn't here, you know. He says he's somewhere around here and he's running. I only know that we have the Murti Crouch. And Ganesh said, but Pita, I have not seen anything. And when Lord Shiva looks to the right, he sees Crouch running. He said, look, there's the Vahan. He said, Pita, I have not seen anything. I do not see any bull. I do not see any peacock. I do not see any lion. What are you talking about? And he begins to laugh. He says, oh Ganesh, your Vahan, look, it's coming again. No, there's no rat there yet. He says, look, he's coming again. And as Ganesha looks, he sees the little Moshak and he says, Pita, nahi, nahi, Baba. Why does he say no? How big is the Moshak? And how big is Lord Ganesh? Lambodara. Lord Ganesh is huge and the Moshak is very small. He says, nahi Pita, nahi Baba. No, no way. Imagine your father is going to buy you your first vehicle. And he takes you to the person that has the vehicles. And he shows you a 120Y. What are you going to say? Nahi Baba, nahi Chodu. If he shows you a 120Y, you say, Papa, what people is going to say when they see me with this 120? My dear friends, Ganesha is feeling embarrassed. How could I have a Moshak? This little Moshak. Pita, don't you look at me, look at my size. And as Crouch is hearing what Bhagwan Shankar is telling to Ganesh, Crouch clasped his hand and he began to pray. Suniye, Suno Mahadev, listen to Mahadev. What does Crouch tell to Lord Shiva? The Katha tells to us. Suno Shankar Sangat Lage, Suno Shankar Sangat Lage, Lambodara Vipasumhare ho, Lambo Vimata Sunare. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha. says, Sune, listen, O Mahadev. Have you ever looked at your son? Ganesh Lambora, he's so huge. I am chota, I'm very small. Bhagwan, if you allow Ganesh to sit on me, Ram Nam, what's going to happen to the mouse? He's saying, Bhagwan, it is my last day today. Are you going to tell me that I am going to die? And Bhagwan Shankar begins to smile. He looks at Crouch and he says, Crouch, never belittle yourself. And never think that there are things in your life you could never accomplish and you cannot do. Like each and every one of us sitting here today. Sometimes we are like Crouch, isn't that so? We are very chanchal. Sometimes the mind, man ki aake to, the mind is very chanchal. We sit here in the satsang, but we are in Canada. We sit here in the satsang, but we are all over the place. The mind is very chanchal. We are like the Moshak. Sometimes we are like the Moshak. He prays, Lord, I cannot do this job. Likewise, sometimes we too belittle ourselves. Sometimes we think in our lives that we could do great things. Great ideas come to us. But then, doubt comes into the mind. And we says, no, I cannot do that. That is for greater people, my dear friends. Bhagwan Shankar look at Crouch and he says, O Mahamuni, O Moshak, you may be little, but you could accomplish great things. You may be little, but you are very powerful and very strong. Never judge a book by its. Or you do know that on this side? Never judge a book by its. He says, O Crouch, you could accomplish great things. He is reminding us tonight, never belittle yourself. Never think that you cannot achieve things in life. You could achieve great things. We all have the ability to make even the impossible becomes possible with the blessings of Bhagwan. He looks at Lord Shiva and Lord Shiva says, Crouch, remember the words of Vamdev? One day the Devatas are going to bow to you. One day the humans are going to bow to you. Likewise, my dear friends, you too could become great. You too could become powerful. And you could be anything and anybody that you want to be. Because you have the ability to do so. And Lord Shiva, he tells us to Crouch. And Crouch with clasped hands, he's confused. He still looks at Ganesh and he looks at himself. And he says, Bholenath, please, once more again, look at Lamborera and look at me. And what takes place? The Kadhata Swa. Bina matu ke asayaso, Bina matu ke ayasaso, Janna de katohi aho, Janna de katohi ha. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva. Oh Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha. Bole Gajanan Swami ki. The Moshak is worried. He's really worried. You know, sometimes you see people with some little vehicles and you wonder how this vehicle is really getting through. You know, recently we concluded a yajna in Sobo. And we had some devotees with us every night. Beautiful devotees. With a little march. Anybody ever see the march? It's like a little dot. And one evening, for those who would have been to Sobo, you would know, you have a little piece of teak to come out. So I told Auntie, I said, listen, wait, we'll go together. Do not go alone. The car is done so small, like Crouch. And I was thinking how this car is getting through this bad road. And you know, by the time I come out of the extension, I had to call Auntie. I said, Auntie, you took the wrong road? She said, no, Baba, I almost rose Silak. I said, Jai Bhagwan. So I had to see this for myself. So I started to drive a little bit faster. And little that you could know, I saw this dot moving going up the road. Anybody ever use maps? And you know when you're using map, you see a little car and the car is moving quickly? It was like, just like maps. Never judge a book by its cover. Bhagwan Shiva tells to Crouch, I give you a blessing today, that you will be able to bear the weight of Ganesh, and you will be able to transport Ganesh wherever he wants to go. And Crouch, immediately he felt strength. He felt strength. He was feeling weak, and by the blessing of Lord Shiva, he felt strength. And you know, today, I got a phone call from a great devotee who had COVID. And he felt as though he couldn't breathe. And the doctors had called his family and told them he's taken a turn for the worse. And they even told him that we are not seeing any improvement. And he remembered my words that he should pray to Hanumanji. Because Hanumanji is who? Pawan Putra, son of the wind. And if you can't breathe properly, Hanumanji will give you that air, that breath. And he told me, he said, Baba, I sat up for less than 5 seconds. And I placed all the faith that I had, as weak as I was, in Hanumanji. And I uttered a beautiful mantra. And he said, I felt as though something just passed through my body. And for the first time in 28 days, I could have taken a full and complete breath. That is the power of God. When we are weak, God makes us strong. We are like crowds sometimes. But when we have faith in God, God makes us strong. He makes us powerful. This is the blessing and burden of Bhagwan. And as Crouch feels strength, the same Ganesh that he was running from, he says, Oh Lamborada, Avo, come let me take you for a ride. But Ganesh is watching, how am I going to fit here? It reminds me of the first time I sat in a note. I was wondering if it had space for me to sit. But when I get in, I realize it's a very spacious vehicle. Likewise, he's wondering, how am I going to sit on this Crouch? But Crouch clasped his hands and he began to pray. And while he's praying, he begins to grow. Om. Who does he pray to? He prays to Lord Shiva. Om Tat Purushaya Vidmahi Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tando Rudra Prachodaya. He says, Ganesh, Aao, Baito. And Ganesha, he sits upon the Vahan. And as he sits on the vehicle, Crouch raised up himself, and Ganesh felt as though he was about to fly. And Crouch started to journey. And he took Ganesh for a ride around the universe. And while he's going, Crouch, he's very quiet. But Ganesh says, Crouch, this ride is very boring. When you are driving on the road and you do not put on the radio, when you're on the road at 4 a.m. in the morning, let's use an example tomorrow morning. You're on the road at 4 a.m. and you're going to Jupe. And the ride is going to be very boring. But when you put on your radio on 103 FM, Jai Bhagwan, you feel energized. Isn't that so? You feel well energized. He says to Moshak, Oh Moshak, I am bored. And Moshak begins to glorify. He begins to sing praises to Lord Ganesh. This evening, we too glorify Lord Ganesh beautifully with a wonderful chant as we prepare to perform our offerings and oblations to Lord Ganesh. Ganapati Ganesha ko Ganapati. You know the radio does have a button that you could raise the volume? You know the steering have a knob to press? So let us raise the volume. Ganapati Ganesha ko Umapati Mahesha ko. This evening, let us see if we could sing this chant without any music. And let me see how good you all are. I have faith in all of you. And let me see if we could sing this chant without any music. Let us see if we could create our own music this evening. What do you all think? Ganapati Ganesha ko Ganapati Umapati Mahesha ko Bolo Shankar Bhole Baba ko Damaru bajane wale ko Bolo Ganapati Ganesha ko Ganapati Ganesha ko मेरा ही प्रणाम है मेरा ही प्रणाम बोलो शंकर भोले बाबा को शंकर भोले बाबा को डमरू बजाने वाले को मेरा ही प्रणाम है मेरा ही प्रणाम बोलो गणपति गणेश को गणपति गणेश को उमापति महेश को मेरा ही प्रणाम है मेरा ही प्रणाम Mosha, he journeys through the universe and Lord Ganesh is enjoying his ride. But while he's enjoying his ride, Lord Ganesh, he sees all of the devatas are being wedded. While he's journeying through the universe, he goes to Vaikuntha. He sees Bhagwan Vishnu being wedded to Lakshmi Maya. He journeys through the universe and he's seeing weddings are taking place. Imagine you have a new vehicle and you're driving down the road and have a wedding. What's the first thing you're going to do? Anybody know? I remember when I got my first vehicle was a V12. And if I was passing the road and I see a wedding I wanted everybody to see, I have a vehicle. So I sent down the glass. But the air conditioner wasn't working too good. He takes the Moshak and he says, Moshak, do not pass this way. Pass around and let everyone see the vehicle. Let them see how powerful you are. And while he's passing the weddings, a thought runs through his mind. All of the devatas are becoming wedded. What about me? Have you ever thought about that? Everybody's getting married in the family. Everybody in the village is getting married. And what your parents says to you, when are you going to marry? Isn't that so? He's thinking to himself, I have a vehicle now. And I think it's time for me to become wedded. And why is he journeying through the universe? Moshak is glorifying him. And he says, Moshak, do you think I should get married too? Moshak says, Ha Prabhu. Moshak is encouraging this. When you tell your friend that, do you think I should get married? What they say? Boy, I can't wait to eat roti. Isn't that so? I go dance for your wedding. And so, Bhagwan Shri Ganapati, he says, Moshak, do you think I should get married? And he said, yes. But Moshak looks at Ganesh and he says, Ganesh, I have a question for you. And Ganesha says, yes. He says, but who are you going to get married to? Everybody's getting married to someone. You can't have a wedding without a dulahin. Could you have a wedding without a dulahin? He says, who are you going to get married to? Ganesh begins to think. He says, Moshak, continue to sing. You are talking stupidness. You sing. And Moshak continues to sing. गणपति गणेश को गणपति गणेश को उमापति महेश को मेरा ही प्रणाम है मेरा ही प्रणाम है शंकर भोले बाबा को शंकर भोले बाबा को डमरू बजाने वाले को मेरा ही प्रणाम है 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 मेरा ही प्रणाम गणपति गणेश को, गणपति गणेश को। जय भगवान। गणपति गणेश को। Let us show the musicians that we are better now. शंकर भोले बाबा को, शंकर भोले बाबा को, डमरू बजाने वाले को मेरा ही प्रणाम है। बोलो गणपति गणेश को, गणपति गणेश को, उमापति मेरा ही प्रणाम है, मेरा ही प्रणाम है, मेरा ही प्रणाम है, मेरा ही प्रणाम है। एक बार बोले गजानन स्वामी की, गणपति बाबा मंगल मूर्ति। Ganesha, he tells to crouch, he says, chup, stay quiet. I am thinking about getting married and you come to ask a question like, who am I going to get married to? Don't worry about that. That will fix. And so, Ganesha, he returns to Kailash Parvat. Prasad Muni is happy now, no more crouch. He returns to Kailash Parvat, where Bhagwan Shankar, Parvati Maya is sitting. And he goes there. He says, Maya, everyone is getting married, and I want to become wedded too. But Crouch asks a beautiful question. Who am I going to get married to? And Parvati Mata, she sits there and she begins to think. She tries to change the topic a little bit. And while she tries to change the topic, she says, Ganesh, tell me about the vehicle. How was the vehicle? He says, beautiful. And Crouch sings, beautiful. And Crouch begins to sing and dance there and there. And Parvati Mata begins to smile. She tries to change the topic. Whilst Crouch is dancing there, what does the Moshak represent? The Moshak represents the very mind. Man ki aankein to. The mind is very, don't afraid now. The mind is very chanchal. Why is the mind is very chanchal, just like the Moshak? The Moshak also represents our desires. Sometimes in our life, our desires could take us for a ride. Isn't that so? When we desire too much, what has happened? We end up in problem. When your neighbor buy a BMW, you vex because you have a BMX. You have to get a better vehicle. And if your neighbor paint the house in red, you have to paint over your house. And if somebody in your family buy a bearer, well, you have to buy a whole pair. This is desires. This is when we allow our desires to take us for a ride. Desires are good to have, but never allow them to get the better of you. Sometimes when we allow our desires to get the better of us, we do not care what we have to do to achieve what we want. That is a good way of thinking, you know. But it depends on what you are thinking about. Isn't that so? Crouch represents our desires. Never allow your desire to take you for a ride. You sit and control your desires. You could have the two bearers. You could paint over the house. But if you can't do it now, you could save and one day you could have it. One day you could paint over the house. One day you could have a better vehicle. Nobody says no, because you could accomplish good things. But one day to come, save and will happen. Do not allow your desires to take you for a ride. Do not let the mind to stray. As Lord Ganesha sits on the Moshak, he governs our mind. And he controls our mind and allows us to say, focus. Focus on the goal of life, which is mukti or liberation, oneness with the Supreme. How do we achieve that? By serving Bhagwan. एक बार बोले गजानन स्वामी की, पार्वती मैया she says, "Oh Ganesh, do not worry, you'll become wedded." Ganesha tells to Moshak, "I'm going to get married." And Moshak prepares for a wedding. Who does he get married to? Tomorrow night's Katha, we will learn about that. Ganapati Baba, Mangalamurti. At this time, my dear friends and devotees, we join in our 108 offerings, oblations into the holy and sacred fire, and the offering of 108 laddu to Lord Sri Ganesh. I invite our Srotas, one at the Havan Kund and one at the Murti of Lord Ganesh. I invite you all to sit upright. Let us hold our palms together. As we pray, we seek the blessings of Ganapati Baba. We hold the laddu. Bhagwan, just as you have blessed us with bhojan, with food, today we offer back food unto you in the form of gratitude. We say thank you, Bhagwan, for allowing us this opportunity to serve you. And thank you, Bhagwan, for food. We pray. Om Dhumraketu Dhanadaksham Bhalachandrama Gajananam Dvaidishtiti Namani Srigam Ganapate Namo Nama. Together. Om Gam Ganapate Namo Namaha. We offer Achman water. Sarva Paparam Divyam Gangeyam Nirmalam Jalam Achmanyam Mayaratam Grihanam Parameshwara. This evening, we are very blessed and privileged to have my wonderful Bhaiya Pandit Dharan joining with us. And I will ask him to lead us in chanting 108 times the beach mantra to Lord Ganesh. Om Gam Ganapati Namaha.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namah Swaha. 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 ॐ गं गणपतये नमः स्वाहा 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 ॐ गं गणपतये नमः ॐ गं गणपतये नमः स्वाहा 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 ॐ गं गणपतये नमः ॐ गं गणपतये नमः स्वाहा 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 ॐ गं गणपतये नमः ॐ गं गणपतये नमः स्वाहा 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 ॐ गं गणपतये नमः स्वाहा
ॐ मेकरन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो धन्ति प्रचोदयात् ॐ गं गणपते नमः स्वाहा आचमन सर्वपापनं दिव्यं गंगे निर्मलं जलम् आचमन्मयारतं गृहाणं परमेश्वर. We join in three final offerings into the Havan. Om Sarvebhyo Devebhyo Namah Swaha Sarvebhyo Devtabhyo Namah Swaha Sarvebhyo Brahmanebhyo Namah Swaha. Karavuchai. I invite you to please stand for the Purna Mahuti offering. Om Purnamidha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Sarvam Vai Purnagvam Shantihi Swaha. Achman. Om Sarvapaparam Devyam Gangeyam Nirmalam Jalam Achmanyam Mayaratam Grihanam Parameshwara. We find the fire. Vanaspatir Sura Bhutoyo Ghanyu Ghanyu Tamaha Agrahana Sarvadevanam Dhupoyam Brati Grahitam. The Sotic blessing. Om Bhurbhuvaswaha Tat Saviturvarinyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodhayatam. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. We make the offering of the Nariyal Pearl, the coconut, this evening. I invite our stroters to come before the altar of Lord Ganesh. And as we hold the coconut in our hands, we invite the presence of Lord Ganesh in our hearts as we are about to commence our arti. As we are about to commence arti, we pray to Ganapati Baba with love, with devotion together. Om Ekarantaaya Vidmahe Vakratundaaya Dhimahi Tando Danti Prachodayat. With love, we pray to Lord Ganesh. Om Sukh karta dukh harta mera Ganapati Baba. Sukh karta dukh harta mera आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल मूर्ति आओ। आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल मूर्ति आओ। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, बोलो। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल मूर्ति आओ। आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल मूर्ति आओ। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, गणपति बप्पा मोरिया। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ। आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, गणपति बप्पा मोरिया। सुख करता दुख हरता मेरा, गणपति बप्पा मोरिया। आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल मूर्ति आओ। आओ प्रभु मेरी आओ, मंगल। This evening, my dear friends, once we hold the coconut and we pray, O Bhagavan, may we remove all obstacles in our lives, any form of lust, greed, anger and hatred. May you bless us, O Bhagavan, with peace, with love, with unity and with devotion. This evening we offer 3 coconuts to Lord Ganesh. Ganesh Upasana teaches us that as the days of Ganesh Ustav increases, the offering of coconuts will increase. Today is our 3rd evening. We offer 3 coconuts. We hold the first coconut and we begin to pray to Lord Ganesh. Today, my dear friends, we all are very blessed and privileged to join together. And right where you are, look at the image of Ganesh Baba and you pray together to Lord Ganesh. Let us all pray with love and devotion. Ganapati, Jai Jai Ganapati. Ganapati, Jai Jai Ganapati. Ganapati, Jai Jai Ganapati. Ganapati, Jai Jai Ganapati. Ganapati, Ganapati Palayama. Ganapati, Surapati, Mahapati, Gajapati. Ganapati, Ganapati Palayama. Ganapati, Jai Jai Ganapati. Behold the first coconut, I begin to pray to Lord Ganesh. O Bhagavan, may you accept this offering. May you guide us and may you protect us. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvigram Kurame Deva Sarvakadeshu Sarvada. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Bole Gajanan Swami ki. Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Gam. Namo Siddhi Vinayakaya Namah. सर्वाकरे सर्वदुःख हरे सर्वविघ्न प्रदे देवी सर्वजनाय नमो नमः। ओम गम गणाधिपते नमः। बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की। Om. We take this third coconut. We pray to Lord Ganesh. Om together. Gajananam bhuta ganadi sevitam kapita jambu parasara vakshatam umasutam choka vinashakarakam namami Vigneshwara pada pankajam. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Bolo Ekaranta Bhagwan ki. Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Ganapati Gam 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 Ganapati. Namo Siddhi Vinayaka Sarva सर्वधान्तरे सर्वा विघ्न प्रहरीवी सर्वाभिषाकरङ्करे बोलो गम 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 गणपति गम 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 गणपति गम। गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक अष्ट विनायक बोलो गणपति बाप्पा। गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाबा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाबा मोरिया। गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः श्री गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः ओ गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाबा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः बोलो गणपति बाबा मोरिया। ओम गम गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः ओ गणपति बाबा मोरिया। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे बोलो मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे मोरिया रे ओ बाबा मोरिया रे मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया। गणपति बोलो गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। ओ गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। बोलो मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे ओ बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। गणपति बाप्पा आओ चले, आओ चले बाबा आओ चले। ओ गणपति बाबा आओ चले, आओ चले बाबा आओ चले। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया मंगल मूर्ति 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 मोरिया। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। ओ गणपति बाबा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। बोलो गणपति बाबा। एवरीवन मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया। मोरिया मोरिया गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। मोरिया मोरिया गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया मंगल मूर्ति मोरिया। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया मंगल मूर्ति। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया मंगल मूर्ति मोरिया। गणपति बाप्पा। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया मंगल मूर्ति। गणपति बाप्पा। You know when we say Moria, Ganesh Baba smile. This evening you want to terminate our yajna, and if you want to go home, because if no longer you all say it loudly, I will chant more. Ganpati Baba, Mangalamurti. Ganpati Baba, Mangalamurti. Moria re Baba Moria re. Bolo Moria re Baba Moria. Moria Moria Ganpati Bappa Moria. Ho Moria Moria Ganpati Bappa Moria. Ganpati Bappa आओ चले, आओ चले बाबा आओ चले। हो गणपति बाबा आओ चले, आओ चले हो बाबा आओ चले। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे। गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाबा मोरिया। गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाबा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धि विनायक नमो नमः। अष्ट विनायक नमो नमः। ओ गणपति बाबा बोलो बाबा आवो चले बोलो मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया रे 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 मोरिया रे बाबा मोरिया Om Gam Ganapataye Namo Namah Ashtavinayaka Namo Namah Om Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Jaradanam Yat Pujitam Maya Deva Paripurnam Tarasrame Kahena Vacha Manasindreva Pudyatmana Va Prakatim Subhautam Karome Yagya Sakalam Parashmai Narayanaiti Samarapayami with love Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bhandhu Chasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Tvameva Sarvam Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. With hands clasped together, turn to the person next to you as you say Jai Ganesh. You know, I'm not here. Jai means victory. So when you turn to each other, you say Jai Ganesh. Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Bolo Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Lambodar he Vigna Harta, Lambodar he Vigna Harta. Deva ho Deva, Deva ho Deva, Deva ho Deva. Ganapati bo Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. This evening, as we terminate our devotion, let me take the opportunity to say a special thank you to all those joining with us at the Mandir, to all those who have joined with us via our live streams this evening. May Bhagwan richly bless you. To Bhai Kishan Ji and Media Concepts 29, I say Bhagwan Ganapati blessings to you and thank you for your continued support and streaming of all our satsangs, carrying our devotion to many devotees throughout the world. This evening, my dear friends, we terminate devotion with victory to Lord Ganesh. Together with one voice, we glorify Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. Lambodar he Vigna Harta, Lambodar he Vigna Harta. Deva ho Deva, Deva ho Deva, Deva ho Deva. Ganapati bo Jai Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Gananatha. बोले गणेश भगवान की, गणपति बाबा मंगल मूर्ति Satya Sanatan Dharma ki. My dear friends, devotees and bhaktas, you may have respectful seats. Arti Prasad Panchamas will come your way. Bhojan is prepared for each and everyone. Please do stay and partake. Here's an invitation to join with us tomorrow evening again for yet another most beautiful evening of devotion, where of course we join in another beautiful katha, the marriage of Lord Ganesh to Riddhi and Siddhi. Jai Sitaram.